Good morning. My name is Susan Reardon. I'm the staff hearing officer, and I call the meeting of Wednesday, April 7th to order. The first item on our agenda is requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or the addition of ex-agenda items. I've had no such requests, so we will go to the next item under preliminary matters, which is announcements and appeals. The first one is an announcement of the staff hearing officer's decision on a coastal development permit for an accessory dwelling unit located at 148 Palisades Drive. I've reviewed this, and per state law, a little background, per state law, we're preempted from holding a public hearing on this item. However, I can take public comment, written public comment into consideration in my action. And I have not received any public comment on this item, just to note. But I did do a site visit and reviewed the information presented to the staff. And I agree with staff's analysis, but there's a couple of items that need to be addressed in order for me to be able to make the required findings that this project is consistent with our coastal certified local coastal program and the zoning ordinance. And that's in regards to the paving for the driveway, and then also the conversion of the existing garage. Because what the proposal is, it's proposing to convert the existing garage, which is detached from the main residence, to an accessory dwelling unit. And the plans do indicate that the roof would be removed. But if additional elements beyond that are removed, that then triggers the definition of substantial redevelopment, and that's defined in our coastal land use plan under policy 2.1-27. If during the plan check process that it's shown that the project does meet the definition of substantial redevelopment, or if during the construction phase that more structural elements get removed than what is indicated, the construction will need to stop and the plans will need to be submitted for the potential of redesign. The garage right now is non-conforming to the setbacks, both the setbacks of the zone and also the setbacks of state law of 4 feet from the property line. So if it ends up that this project actually ends up being a substantial redevelopment, either a modification will need to be requested to allow the accessory dwelling unit to be constructed within the 4-foot setback, or the plans need to be changed so that the accessory dwelling unit meets that 4-foot setback. In addition, in regards to the paving for the driveway, at the site visit, and then also the photos that were submitted with the project, the amount of paving shown for the driveway as existing on the plans does not represent or does not match which is actually on the plan. On the ground. The pavement currently goes about 51 feet from the front property line. And then the remaining portion, I think it's about 16 feet between the edge of the existing paving and the accessory dwelling unit is not paved. There's stepping stones in that area. So either the plans need to be updated to correct that new additional paving, or it needs to be revised to show that that's stepping stones and that the parking is out of that area, because unless transportation finds that that is an adequate surface for parking, which may have an effect in terms of the replacement or the 2 parking spaces in the front setback. But those are just 2 items that need to be addressed, and they'll be added as conditions of approval. And with that addition, I can make the findings as outlined in the staff report and announce my decision that I approve the project subject to the conditions as proposed by staff and with those 2 additional conditions. The next item on the announcements appeals is another request for a coastal development permit for a project located at 114 La Marina. And again, it's a request for an detached accessory dwelling unit. And this project was actually reviewed and approved by the staff hearing officer on February 23rd or 24th. I announced my approval of that project. However, when the required notice of final action was submitted to the Coastal Commission, it was pointed out that this project site is actually located in the appeal jurisdiction versus the non-appeal jurisdiction. Therefore, my action, although it's my action approving that coastal development permit was final with the city, it was appealable or subject to appeal to the Planning Commission. So I reviewed it, and I am announcing that again, that I can make the findings as outlined in the staff report and approve that coastal development permit subject to the conditions of approval that were contained in the staff report. Actually heading back to 148 Palisades Drive, it is located in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone. Therefore, my action on that permit is final. And the last item on the announcements and appeals is another request for a coastal development permit for an accessory dwelling unit at 2211 Elise Way. And it is a proposal to construct a new detached 342 square foot accessory dwelling unit. And it is located in a non-appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone. And I've read the staff report and I performed the site visit, and I agree with staff's analysis that requested coastal development permit and the detached accessory dwelling unit is consistent with our policies in the local coastal program as well as our zoning ordinance, and can make the findings outlined in that staff report and approve the project subject to the conditions of approval as outlined by staff. Again, this project's in the non-appealable jurisdiction, so my action on this coastal development permit is final. So with that, we will move on to the, So now we'll move on to the next item, which is public comment. If there's any members of the public who would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on the agenda, you may do so by clicking the raise your hand icon as indicated on the screen. It's a green arrow right now, and if you click it, just click it once and it will turn red, and that will let me know that you wish to address the staff hearing officer on items not on today's agenda. And once I call on you, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. And I don't see anybody who is raising their hand, so I will close the public comment. So the first item on the agenda, and I still don't see staff. Timmy, can you click on? Have you received?
I don't see Ms. Broadison either. I did send her an email. I do see we do have the applicant, Mr. Watkins, in attendance who I can promote, but I'm not sure how you want to handle that with staff not being here.
Well, can you first email Danny or Allison to ask them the question, and we will move on. I'll go to the last item. I'll skip to 106 Cedar Lane, and if you could find out the status, that would be great to me.
Okay, yeah, I can only do one thing once, but I will do that.
All right, thank you. So I have some questions for staff regarding 20 Lorinda Place. So I would like to wait until the staff is present. And so I could ask the questions. So we will go to that last item on the agenda, because there's two just projects on there, and that is 106 Cedar Lane. And then we will return back to the 20 Lorinda. So just so people who are watching and the applicants, so you're aware of what's going on. So I see the case planner and the applicants present. So Mr. Dawes, if you would like to give the staff presentation, and then it could be followed by the applicant.
Sure. Good morning, Ms. Reed. I'm Robert Dostalik, Associate Planner at the Community Development Department. And the project before you today is a proposal at 106 Cedar Lane to enclose an entry porch, add a new covered porch, along with miscellaneous alterations and improvements. Front setback modification is requested for alterations within the front setback. And if we could scroll to the site plan, Mr. Bolton, that would be great. And just to describe the vicinity, the project site is located in the Eucalyptus Hill neighborhood of the city, near the intersection of Cedar Lane and La Vista Grande. And while we're waiting for the plans to pull up, to give a little background, the existing residence and garage on the property are non-conforming due to the portions of the structures located in the 30-foot front and 10-foot interior setbacks. The original residence and detached garage were approved in the original residence and detached garage were constructed in 1952 under the R1 zoning at the time. A modification was approved in 1977 to construct a bedroom and bath addition in the front portion of the lot, and that's approximately 10.5 feet from the front lot line. And this is the southernmost portion of the residence that's largely positioned in the front setback. And you can see the label new covered porch, and that's the portion I'm speaking of. And to get into the specifics of the project involves the enclosure of the existing 51 square foot entry porch as living area, and add a new 82 square foot covered porch, change doors and windows, add a new fireplace, new chimney, patio, and new iron balcony. And again, the front setback is proposed to allow the new porch and other alterations within the front setback. And to touch on the zoning general plan, the 7,301 square foot project site is zoned RS15 under Title 30 of the Municipal Code. The general plan land use designation is low density residential. And the properties surrounding the project site are zoned for and developed with residential improvements. And the site plan also illustrates the two areas that comprise the designated non-conforming open yard. Looks like they're a little light in terms of the shading, but you can see those. And general zoning consistency, otherwise the project would adhere to the applicable zoning requirements, including building height and parking standards. And Mr. Bolton, if we could scroll to sheet A2.1, which is the proposed floor plan. Thank you. And the front setback modification is requested to allow improvements, including the new main door and porch, a Juliet balcony, and French doors on the south elevation, and new French doors on the west elevation. And staff is supportive of the proposed front setback modification, as options for conforming additions are extremely limited. The lot is highly constrained due to its triangular shape, its location at a bend in Cedar Lane, and disproportionately large setbacks in relation to the lot area due to past zoning changes. And additionally, as you can see to the left of the building footprint, there's a 10-foot wide utility easement that traverses the parcel roughly north to south. And so that also occupies potentially buildable area. But overall, the portion of the lot occupied by setbacks and easements is approximately 78%. And further, most of the lots in the surrounding neighborhood do not exhibit the same constraints as the subject parcel. And Mr. Bolton, if we could scroll to sheet A3.1, which are the elevations. Thank you. And the new porch would provide, and I'm looking at the top two illustrations here. Yeah. And the new porch would provide a more architecturally defined main entryway, similar to neighboring residences in the area, and would not be located closer to the front lot line than the existing building footprint per the 1977 modification. Additionally, the proposed roof extension would be in line with the existing roof pitch and would be lower in height than the existing roof peak. And lastly, at 82 square feet, this new feature is modestly sized, and the design and massing are appropriate for the residents and neighborhood. And on the same two images, the proposed new French doors and Juliet balcony to replace the existing bedroom window and would provide additional articulation and detail to the street-facing facade. And you can see that in the image to the right. And the Juliet balcony would measure approximately 6.5 feet and would protrude into the front setback by approximately 18 inches. And at its closest point, the balcony would be approximately 13 feet from the front lot line. And again, these alterations are very minor, would provide aesthetic enhancement to the residence and streetscape. And Mr. Bolton, if you could zoom in on the two lower images on that same page. Thank you. And so the new French doors that you can see illustrated on the lower image, the two new French doors to replace the windows on the west side of the residence would allow for the reconfiguration of the living room and dining area while maintaining ingress and egress to the outdoor and open yard areas on the property. And due to their physical distance and orientation away from adjacent residences, and that's again the doorway openings, the new doorways on the south and west elevations would not be obtrusive to or impose upon the privacy of neighboring parcels. And to touch on environmental review, also known as CEQA, the scope of the entire project can be found categorically exempt from further environmental review under sections 15303 and 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act. And for design review, although the parcel is located in the Hillside Design District, the slope of the lot is only 9%, and therefore design review is not required for this project. And to sum up, with the ability to make the findings for the front setback modification, staff recommends the staff hearing officer approve the project. And that concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I don't have any questions right now. Mr. Meter, would you like to provide any additional comments or presentation?
Yeah, just a little. Thank you, Robert, for that explanation. That's almost everything I would say. Just that, I'd like to reiterate, there was no real other opportunities to expand the living area for this house. And so reconfiguring the inside by removing the entry and moving it to a new wall is a way to get just a little bit more living and dining area. The owners have lived here over 20 years in a very small house. And it's really a huge improvement to this house to be able to rearrange. And we think we're making it just cuter because it's more exposed to the neighborhood. So in that way, it's a benefit to the neighborhood. And yeah, that's about it. The basket balcony on the front is purely aesthetic. It's not intended to be occupied. No one's going to stand out there. It just deep enough to allow us to swing the doors open. And actually the doors will have to swing inside, but that basket is just an architectural element, and it could turn into a window, but we think having it stretch more vertically with the new gable front end is the way to go there. Actually, that's my only comment. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Ms. Reader.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't have any comments or questions for you right now, so I'd like to move to opening the public hearing for this item. Again, it's 106 Cedar Lane. And if you would like to address the staff hearing officer on this item, you can do so by raising your hand, and it's the little hand button on the as shown on the screen. It's green right now. If you click it, just click it once and it'll turn red, and I will see that, and I will call on you. And when I call on you, you'll have 2 minutes to provide your comments. So I'll give you just a couple minutes or just a little bit, and I would like to ask Kathy, have we received any public comment this morning?
No, I believe that we have not received anything for this particular item. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'll close the public hearing because I don't see anybody raising their hand. The item is now to me. I reviewed this information provided and also did the site visit, and I agree with staff's analysis that is provided in the staff report that this truly is a minor type alterations inside in the front setback, and this lot is extremely constrained by both its shape and the setbacks, as staff pointed out. And in addition, there is an existing hedge along the front property line. So in terms of potential impacts to the public streetscape, although I think the project's minor enough that it doesn't cause any adverse effects, it is screened from the public street. And really the only opportunity to view the house is from the driveway and the little pedestrian walkway there. And the elements that are being added in that area enhance the look or the streetscape. So I agree with staff's analysis in that it is an appropriate improvement for this site. Staff didn't propose any conditions of approval, and I do not need to add any conditions of approval to be able to make the required findings. So with that, I approve your project, making the findings outlined in the staff report. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if this should warrant additional, or if they feel this warrants additional discussion, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those would happen, Robert would contact you. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks. Okay, and we will go back to 20 Lorinda Place. And I see staff is present now. And the applicant is Mr. Watson, so he could be, oh, I see he's has been promoted too. So what we'll do is we will go first to staff. If Kelly has a webcam, I do see her mic's on. It's a request for a interior setback modification to allow the conversion of the garage into habitable space. So Kelly, are you there? Kelly, I think you muted yourself instead. Kelly, you want to unmute yourself? Okay, well, it's sure she's having technical difficulties. What I can do, or Timmy, did you want to, I was going to have the applicant go ahead and present his project first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Reardon and to Ms. Broadison, it looks like Ms. Broadison, you need to enter your audio pin, which I have sent to you to be able to enable muting and to unmute yourself. And it looks like we also have Ms. Allison Nebusk in attendance who may be able to step in if Kelly has issues.
Great, thank you, Timmy.
Would you like me to go ahead and speak real quick, Ms. Reardon?
Sure. While we're waiting for staff, well, yeah, if you want to present your project, that would be good.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is a small project at 20 Lorinda Place. If we go to the site plan sheet, it might be easier to give a quick understanding of what we're trying to do here. And then maybe let's start with the existing site plan, Mr. Bolton, and then go down to the next one after. Thanks. To the left there, you'll see is Lorinda Place. And this is one of the properties at the front end of a cul-de-sac. The clients, like many people during the pandemic, were trying to figure out ways to actually get their work done at home during this time. They're both working professionals with very different styles. One is in the music industry, the other is in a lawyer. And they are required to be on calls pretty much all day. So they realized they needed to provide some separation there for their marriage sanity and for production. The garage was a place they thought they can do that in their own minds pretty easily. The issue with that is that they started work without a permit when they were doing a side door alteration to the rear yard so they can get access there. And that was really all they were doing. They were keeping the garage door. They weren't doing any exterior alterations to it. No new windows, anything like that, visible to the front or within the side yards. It was just getting a slider door within an existing window opening off the rear yard where you can't see from the frontage. Moving the parking, which we got approved as a parking waiver through the to be parked uncovered in front of the garage unit. And that would actually free up the space inside for one of the owners to work inside the garage as a converted office home occupation unit designation. There's low impact. They're not working in businesses that require customers to come up and see them or clients to come visit at home. It's merely just a working space separately from one another so they can do their work, especially with music, and not impact the other person. So the alterations were very minimal. The only thing that could be visible from the front would be the enclosing of the garage door during building apartment submittal. So it maintains a front facade that doesn't look like a garage anymore. If we can go down to the proposed real quick, we can just kind of see where the parking is going to get situated. And you can also see in the area that's shaded, that's the separate detached garage unit that will be converted. If it remained in its existing garage utility use, the 5 foot setback, 5 yard setback would suffice. I'm sorry, would not suffice. The 3-foot setback that it currently is would. When it converts to a residential use, though, we have to go back to the 5-foot setback standard, and in that case, it becomes non-conforming for the potential use, and that's why we're asking for this modification to be approved right now. We explored a lot of options with planning department that would avoid the modification. One of them was even just putting up basically a party wall 2 feet in from the exterior wall that's encroaching, and separating out that little sliver of 2 feet into basically no man's land inside the structure, and then have a reduced footprint inside the garage as an office use, hoping that that might be able to satisfy it. Despite that, though, because it was the entire building envelope gaining that use as a residential use, that wasn't going to be satisfied as a potential option for the planning department, so we have to go this route. I don't know if you want me to go through photos, Ms. Reeder, and everything to give a layout. I know you've seen the site, but in terms of the parking and the situation we're proposing, this entire cul-de-sac is situated in these kind of parcel arrangements where the residence is at the front, and there's typically a detached garage separated to the back of the property with very long driveways, and everyone in that cul-de-sac parks in the arrangement that we're proposing. And it's nice because there's a lot of landscaping hedging between adjacent parcels. The driveways are so deep that you don't see the parking being an issue, which is really nice. I think when we were trying to get that approved from Single Family Design Board is that there was a precedence already established with that. So the alterations we're doing are very minimal and wouldn't be seen from the frontage. And more importantly, they also wouldn't be seen from the adjacent neighbor because there's a very dense screening of hedges, I think junipers and fruit trees, flanking that adjacent parcel closest to where the garage is occupying that side yard setback that would screen any kind of use as well from the neighbor. And
Okay,
so
yeah,
that's
Mr. Walton. Yeah, in terms of your question, yeah, if you wanted to just go over just what it's going to look like from the street, the garage elevation, and then
Sure.
I'm not sure if staff has the photos loaded or not, but at least the elevations, if you can kind of show
Sure.
what's going to.
Yeah, if there's photo pages, Mr. Bowling, I think one of the first 3 sheet photo pages would probably show what our views are like from this street frontage looking towards the front elevations.
And if there's no photos, that's fine, but it just
Okay.
at least the elevation part.
We didn't draw any elevations because we weren't doing any alterations other than the garage door being infilled at this time, so it wasn't asked as a requirement. But we
Yep.
have photos.
Okay, so you're changing the garage door to a blank wall, or what, so it's not showing?
It's just going to be a plaster wall. Typically building departments wants us to remove those doors. If it would be
Yeah.
easier and cheaper, we would not, but that was been indicated that we want that. So you can see there, it's basically just going to the plaster finish to exactly match the existing.
Okay, and SFDB didn't comment on that? They just only commented on the uncovered parking part? They didn't have?
Yeah, they didn't seem to have any issue with that part being converted that way. It's something that could definitely be explored if that helps with the condition of or the consideration of approval. But because it's such a deep driveway and because the cars will be parked in front of the whole time, and the owners didn't need the door since they already have an access off their rear yard, they didn't feel it was necessary.
Okay.
Or even desired.
Okay.
And then I don't know, are there any photos, Mr. Bolton?
To Ms. Reardon and Mr. Watkins, I don't have them loaded. If they are important, I can figure out how to get them up quickly.
No, it's
If-
okay. It's more
okay.
just was for a discussion point. I did a site visit, so that's fine. Thank you, Timmy.
And if you need Ms. Reardon, I guess I could always load them on my screen and do a share screen or something if there's any discussion points you want to talk about in a photo.
Okay, I'll let you know. So sorry, so that concludes your presentation? I can see if staff has stuff to add.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys would also want the owner to speak briefly. He's here too, and he can also add some comments if you'd like, or whatever you prefer. Want to do that in a different manner?
Only if they want to, that is fine. I will give them the opportunity. It's not required, but if they're in attendance and they believe there's something additional that they need, that they would wish to provide to me, that's fine. Is that Sean Daly?
Yes, Mr. Daly.
Okay. Timmy, could you promote him and see if he wants to add anything? And then while you're doing that, Kelly, if you wanted to, if you had any additional information you wanted to provide.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Watkins explained the project as thoroughly as I would. It just needs a mod because the garage is non-conforming to the setback. And other than that, and the changing of the garage door, which is if the building isn't going to be used as a garage door, the policy is that we have them remove the garage door so it looks more like a structure. And they're complying with their parking on property, so there shouldn't be any issues with that. And it's not an ADU; it's just a workspace.
Okay, great, thank you. I'll have some questions in a little bit, but first, so Sean,
Yes, I'm here.
did you want to provide any additional comments?
Yeah,
or-
and good morning, thank you. And just to kind of mirror what David was saying, you know, obviously this was very much pandemic related. We were both people who, I traveled quite a bit for work. My wife went into an office every day. This, like everybody, hit us very hard. You know, we thought it was an easy project. We didn't realize what needed to go into it. So now we're happy to go through the proper channels, whatever it takes. You know, time is of the essence. It's had a negative effect on our personal life, our marriage, our finances, everything. And it's been 9 months since the day the inspector came. And we just really want to do whatever it takes to get this done right and make you guys happy and get on with our work. Right now, I'm taking phone calls in my car quite often. It's been almost a year. We just are really eager to get this done. So please let us know anything we need to do. We're willing to do it any way you tell us. But time is important. And I have spoken directly with our direct neighbors that we share a fence with and stuff. They're personal friends of mine. Jackie next door is wondering what's going on with your project. Austin, the other neighbor next door, asked what he needs to do. He's recently bought the house and is a supporter of this. Our direct neighbors all support it. We know them. We're friends with them. And again, we just want to do it by the book and get it done. And it's been a long 9 months. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, great, thank you. I do have questions for Mr. Watkins and property owner too. So in staff report, it talks about converting the garage from non-habitable habitable space. In your application letter, you refer to a home occupation. Our code contains specific provisions for home occupations. And so my question for you, is this truly a home occupation or is it just additional living space to use? Because there are additional requirements for the home occupation if that's what you're proposing.
Thank you. In our earlier discussion with planning, we were told that the home occupation unit would be best served. We're providing the offset of that storage enclosure to the rear in a separate storage unit to offset, which is one of the requirements. They are working professionals. They are not generating any foot traffic, which I think was another condition. So it really is truly just home occupation, bare bones. Sean's probably just putting his desk in there. There's not, there's not even a bathroom or a half bath going to be put in there. I know that was brought up a lot by planning of, why don't you just do an ADU? It's a lot simpler. They don't want to do a dump sink. There's nothing in there that they want to do whatsoever as any kind of additional residential, as a bedroom or anything future term. It's just a home occupation unit.
Okay, so you've reviewed the section of our code that provides the home occupation and the limitations, like there needs to be an affidavit that's signed and submitted and all that. So that's the intent with this project is for, because staff didn't propose any conditions of approval. So if it's going to be truly a home occupation, I'm going to need to add some conditions of approval to make sure that it conforms due to the request of modification. So it's your intent to be a true home occupation versus just additional living space for the unit.
Yes.
Okay. And then my other question to you is regarding that new storage enclosure. Currently, at least on the aerials that I reviewed, it appears that there is a storage unit back there about scaling roughly 10 by 10. Is that still there? And if so, is it going to be removed and replaced with this, or when was that removed?
That was old. I know Sean, when we first actually talked about the project last year, they had mentioned there was something back there that they cleaned up. There's an existing patio slab that's back there that I think it was sitting on, but that area is probably old because that's been gone for a while.
Okay, is that true, Sean? Is that
Yeah, we removed you're right, in the dimensions and stuff. There was an old storage space from the previous owner. We removed that upon purchasing the house about 2 years ago. And
Okay.
it's just an empty slab right now. Our intention is to get a brand new storage unit that's, smaller, that fits whatever specifications you guys desire. And we'll use that for the storage for the stuff that was in the garage, because yes, the garage will be used as just an office at that point.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. I think those are my questions for right now. I'll need to open the public hearing. So at least if both of you guys want, if everyone wants to mute themselves. So I will open the public hearing. If there's anybody in attendance who would like to address the staff hearing officer on this item, which is 20 Lorinda Place, you can do so by clicking on the raise your hand icon, and you'll see it's green right now. When you click on it, just click on it once and it will turn red, and I will call on you, and then you have 2 minutes to speak. See, no one's raising their hand. So Ms. Gu, have we received any public comment on this item?
No, Chair Reardon, we didn't receive any public comment on this item. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'll close the public hearing. Like I said, I did go to the site, and I want to apologize for the confusion on the site visit. With the pandemic, it throws everything off, and especially now since I'm working from home, the days for site visits, I generally try to keep it the same, which it is pre-pandemic, it was on Mondays, but now, with the pandemic, it's more like Thursdays. So I apologize if you're expecting me to show up on Monday and was waiting for me. If you have another project that goes before the staff hearing officer, feel free to reach out to the case planner, let them know that you want to be on site, and I can set up a time that works both in our schedule. So I apologize, regarding that confusion.
No, that's fine. I think that's what threw us off, is because the planner had told us that Monday was going to be the day, and we wanted to make sure that the issues with the dogs and stuff, it was all taken care of. So we're worried about how that affected our hearing today. That's all.
Yeah, and it's not, it's staff hearing officers is different than the planning commission, in that the planning commission does have a set day and time for the site visits. But since I'm just a one person, not really a board, a one person review body, there's not a set time, unless, like I say, I'm made aware of somebody wanting to meet me there, and that no problem, I'll set up a time that works. So yeah, it was
Resolved.
yeah. So
Okay.
so with that, in regards to the request, the interior setback modification, one of the main concerns that I have regarding that type of request is what potential adverse effects you'd have on your neighbor. And in this instance, it is an existing garage, and it's proposed to be converted. There's no openings on that side of the wall, and the openings that are proposed is facing the other way. So in terms of the adverse impacts regarding noise activity, that'll be minimum. I do have concerns with having the uncovered parking spaces on the driveway, and that has a potential for causing noise with idling car door slamming and that. But it's not a request that's before me. It is an allowed activity in this situation. And also the structure on the neighboring property set to the south, the structure that's most close to your property is a garage. So in terms of nuisance type issues, it's not, I don't believe that to be a significant concern or adverse effect to your neighbor. So in terms of the conversion and that request, it is an appropriate improvement, and it makes complete sense why you want to do it. In regards to the removal of the door, the garage door, that is a standard requirement for several reasons. One is the fire department. If they go and they see a garage door, they're not going to know that there's a potential for people in there. They're going to assume it's a garage. So it's also a safety issue. I have concerns with just the blank look of the wall from the street. So I'm going to put a condition on the project that when this project returns back to the single family design board, if they could just look at that front facade and either add a window, or you don't need to add a door or anything, but just add something to make it more friendly. Even if it's a planter area in front of it with just something that makes it look appealing from the street.
Okay.
And then also, since it's been clarified that this is proposed to be a true home occupation, I will put a condition, although it is a code requirement, but that it needs to comply with the section, the home occupation section in our code, operate in conformance with that, which is Santa Barbara, the code sections 30.185.200.c, and that the zoning affidavit needs to be completed prior to the issuance of the building permit. So those are, that would have had to occur anyways, but I just want to make that clear that that's part of my action. And then in regards to the front facade, again, I'm not thinking of anything elaborate, just something that makes it more street friendly.
Sure.
You've been on the design board, so you have an idea of how to make that look nicer. So with those two added conditions, staff didn't propose any conditions, so it would be with those two conditions. I can make the findings as outlined in the staff report and approve your project. My action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt for some reason this needed to be reviewed by them, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those actions or options would happen, staff would contact you. Okay?
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have a project?
Thank you, guys.
Sure. And with that, those are the last items. I will adjourn the meeting.